Hi y'all, thank you for joining me today. This is Candace Gillespie from Candace'sCanvases.com, and this is Cards Monday. I am going to make a square card using 4 circles. So I am starting out with the second largest framelit from the Circles collection, Framelits, and I'm just putting those on. I think that's a 4.5 by 4.5 pieces of Kraft cardstock, and I'm running through that. I'm running through it, okay? No, I'm running it through the Big Shot. So we'll put the Big Shot aside and zoom in a little bit so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, now, being a good girl, putting it back. Okay, I have 4 circles, so I'm bringing in my Simply Scored scoring tool. And these circles happen to be about 4 1/16 by 4 1/16, or 4 1/16 in diameter. So I'm just scoring them at 2 inches. And using my bone folder, I'm going to give those a crisp fold. Now you can see when I fold them in half, there's just like about a 1/16 of an inch where they just don't meet up. And that's okay, because we're gonna meet all those sides up. I learned I don't typically make a sample card. I record and then I edit out all my bloopers and usually the videos are about an hour long, and I edit just the information that you need to see and that I need to talk about, and then it goes from there. Now what I did learn is I should have adhered well, let me backtrack. What I did here is I took the smaller portions of the circle, the smaller halves of the circle, and those are what I'm gluing together. But I should have taken the larger halves, and you'll see why in a few minutes here. I end up having a little bit of trouble with it folding, so I trimmed it, but it was no problem at all. I mean, anything is fixable, which is nice. And the stamp set we're going to be using is so fun. It's called Kind of Eclectic, so this card is just totally eclectic. It's just so fun. Okay, so here it is. We've glued all 4 of those pieces together, and I'm going to cut out some mats here. I'm going to cut out 2 3¼ by 3¼ pieces of Whisper White cardstock, and one of those 3¼ by 3¼ pieces, I'm going to cut that in half. So the first piece, I am going to bring in some scratch paper and my Kind of Eclectic stamp set. I guess I bring in my scratch paper at a different stamping part of this video, not now. Okay, so I'm going to bring in some Saffron. And ink that up, and oh, there's my scratch paper, and I'm going to stamp it off and then stamp it on. And then I thought I was happy with that being my the inside of my card, but I end up adding to it. So, but for now, I'm going to glue it down using my favorite adhesive, which is Tombow. Okay. Now, another thing I learned is I butted the edges up right to each other of each of those circles when I glued them down. I should have left them just a hair, I don't want to miss this one detail. I just put a tiny little bit of snail adhesive on the back of these 2 pieces, and then I used my wrist to take off the sticky, most of the sticky, kind of the oils from my skin will do that. You can put it on your clothes. Anyway, just to stick those down temporarily. Now, what I was saying was, when you glue your circles together, you want to make sure to leave just a little, you don't want to butt them right up close to each other. Just, glue them together, but not real tight, if that makes sense. If it doesn't, leave me a comment in the comments below and I'll explain it. Okay, here we are doing the outside. Now those 2 halves, I've put them back together, and I'm just starting to stamp. All of the stamps I'm using for the front of this card are from the Kind of Eclectic stamp set, and I use the clear mount stamps. And so the first one was the So Saffron in Full Strength. that's sunshine. And then right over my scrap paper there. And then I'm taking wild wasabi and I stamped, I think I got 4 of those leaf sets there stamped down. Then I'm going to take this fun little pattern piece and bring in some soft sky ink. And I'm going to stamp that off because I just want this in the very background. And I'm just stamping it kind of randomly. I don't have a specific pattern or goal. Well, I do have a goal, I guess, and that's just to kind of make it look eclectic and layered. So then I'm going to take the sentiment from this stamp set. And I'm bringing some Calypso Coral Classic Stampin' ink. You'll probably hear in the background my husband's played with my son. Okay, and then the sentiment reads, "A little kindness goes a long way." So I didn't want to stray too much from this kind of color trio that I'm using here with the So Saffron, Wild Wasabi, and the Crisp Cantaloupe. So I'm bringing in Pumpkin Pie, which is, it's close to the Crisp Cantaloupe, so I'm not straying too far. And then I'm taking the smaller butterfly from the kind of eclectic stamp set and stamping 3 of those. And then here I am adding to the inside. I'm stamping off and then stamping on into the inside of the card. Just kind of bringing the flow of the outside of the card into the inside of the card. Okay, so then there's a little pause here in the action on the screen because I'm looking for my stamp set that has all my thanks on it. And it's called Lots of Thanks, and I use the clear mount stamp set. And here it is. Excuse me. And I'm going to use this little sentiment that just says thanks. And I'm going to stamp that in Calypso Coral on the inside. And I'm going to do a generation stamping. I'm going to stamp it once, 3, 4, 5. I think I stamped it 1, 2, 3, 5 times with the same ink. I didn't re-ink it at all. Just to kind of give it some dimension and kind of add to the eclectic value of this card. Okay, once that's done, my 2 little pieces came up really easily. So I'm just kind of figuring out where I want them on the front so I know where to add the glue. Okay, so I'll just add all the glue to this side. Now I don't know if you'll notice, but that right flap there, I did need to trim it a little bit because they overlapped. And that could have been prevented in the early construction of the card. And like I said, I rarely do a pre-run on my cards. I kind of, you see what I make up. So I wouldn't have known that unless you kind of run through the trial. So I'm letting you know that so you don't do the same thing. Okay, now you can leave it like that where it meets and squares up at the front. Like I said, I just want to add to the eclectic nature of this card. But first, I'm going to add some rhinestones. I adore Stampin' Up! Rhinestones. You may remember hearing me say that before on other videos, but they are so shiny and they stick really well. So I suppose it definitely depends on what kind of surface you're sticking them to, but generally they stick really well. Okay, now here's where I'm adding to the eclectic nature of this card. I am cutting off where the squares kind of, or now they're rectangles, it's a square cut in half, where they overlap. I'm cutting those corners off and then I'm closing it and adding some adhesive. And then, closing the flap and then putting it, matching the pieces back up, only gluing it on the bottom layer. This adds a really cool effect when you open up and you see that second layer. I'll show you in a few seconds here once I'm done. I'm going to speed through this second half, adding glue and then just lining it up, closing the flap and lining the stamps back, the stamped image back up. Okay, see how when you open it, it adds that cool flowery effect to the Kraft cardstock? Well, what I'm going to do with that is I'm taking my bone folder and I'm going to just make it look like leaves. There's lots of leaves on the cover. I adore it. So with my bone folder, I just draw in the veins of the leaves. And that pretty much sums up the card. I did add rhinestones to the inside of the card. There it is. I am so glad you joined me for this episode of Cards Monday. Thank you so much for subscribing to my channel and for liking this video and for leaving a joyful comment. You guys mean so much to me, and every subscription I get just motivates me more and more and more to just come up with fun creative activities for you and for everyone. So share this video, whatever you want to do, and you can visit Candace'sCanvases.com. You can like my webpage via your Facebook. You can purchase Stampin' Up! Supplies that you saw me use here on this video, and then you can purchase my handmade goods. A lot of the cards you see me make are available to purchase on my website. So also all my crafty news is on there, and you can also join my team on there. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Bye!